Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Tabortown Council meeting for March the 23rd, 2026. We first off have a subdivision authority meeting, so I will call that subdivision authority meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councilor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried now. So just for the record, Councilor Sparks is unable to attend tonight. And we do have Councilor Sorensen on line with us as well. On to agenda item number 3, related to the minutes of the last meeting. Mr. Thibault.
Administration has no updates to the minutes. Back over to council.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? Some prayer to make that motion. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the subdivision authority adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of the subdivision authority held on February 9th, 2026 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 4.1 related to subdivision TT 26-0-002. Mr. Thibault.
We'll ask Ms. Hillary Jensen to come forward and explain what we're doing here with council.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, acting as the subdivision authority this morning, or this afternoon. So we just have the one subdivision for your consideration today. It is to subdivide out and reconfigure some lots within the Eureka subdivision. So this is a town-initiated subdivision because it's town-owned land. So as you can see on the screen, what we've proposed is to finish off the subdivisions that are the highway frontage. So dividing that area that was left into 3 equal-sized parcels. So they come to about 2.75 acres each, just to kind of create some efficiencies that way. And then what we also created another 3-acre lot on the west side of 62nd Street. And then also there was a slight reconfiguration required for an existing lot. It just was out of alignment with the lots to the south. So we've when we do the amendment to the area structure plan, the spur line that's going straight north is directly behind all these lots. And so we want all those lots to line up so that we don't have any weird spaces in between. So that's why at this time I thought it was prudent just to kind of fix up that slight error that was done, I think maybe last year or the year before. It was before my time here. So that's what we're doing with regards to the subdivision. We are just lot reconfiguration and 4 new lots that will go into our land inventory for sale. And then, so with regards to the other information for the subdivision, we are there is water and sewer services all along 62nd Street, which council has previously approved, along with the shallow utilities. We did send out the circulation for external comments to the MD and some external agencies. No concerns were expressed. Alberta Transportation did provide the comment of that a traffic impact assessment, and I used an acronym there and not the written word, that needed to be undertaken. In fact, we already have a traffic impact assessment that's been drafted for there, and it's actually at Alberta Transportation for review. So there might just be some misdialogue between some of the people there at Alberta Transportation. As the subdivision is in an area where we have an area structure plan, no notices are required to be mailed out to adjacent landowners, just so you're wondering if that was done. So other considerations are, as all subdivisions are required to deal with municipal reserve, I have put on the recommendation that the municipal reserve for these subdivisions, and there's 3 titles in this area, so that's why I included a map that kind of showed how they're all oddly split out. So there would be municipal reserve that we would defer to future subdivisions down the road that we could use at a different time, or if we sold a large block of land, potentially, then that could be taken at a later date. So you can see that I have included that in the recommendation for your consideration. Conditions are very basic because it's a town-owned land with and a town-owned subdivision. Just that that there's nothing outstanding on the title, and that we register any required easements, so that we don't run into any problems with putting in services, utility services there in the future. With that, I will turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor, for the deliberation and the decision.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Johnson whatsoever? All right, pretty basic. Councillor Remford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no questions. I'm ready to make the motion.
All right, or do you have a question? You're good? Okay. Councillor Remford, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the subdivision authority approve subdivision TT 26-0-002, beginning portions of lot B1 Block X Plan 7819AQ, Block X Plan 7819AQ, Lot 5 Block 4 Plan 2010204, Lot 6 Block 4 Plan 2512064, all in the northeast 8-10-6 west of the 4th with the following conditions.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
Thank you.
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Just ask for motion to close the meeting. Councillor Antonuc?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I move that we close the meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. I call the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. No public hearing. Adoption minutes, item 4.1 minutes, regular meeting of council, March 9th, 2026. Mr. Tebow?
Again, administration has nothing to add to the minutes. Back over to you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Weeb?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the regular minutes of the regular meeting of March 9th, 2026.
Right, thank you. Councillor Firth, you have a question?
I did. The minutes that were included in the package were actually the February 9th meeting minutes.
Oh, sorry. That's my mistake.
But it should be from the March 9th, but I think these ones have previously been adopted.
All right.
Or did I mix it up? Okay.
So, sorry, Mr. Tebow, what was the general gist there?
Yeah, we'll have to bring the minutes back, the proper minutes back at the next meeting. So we can just withdraw the motion to accept these minutes and
Okay, so do
then
that for the next.
accept them next time. There'll be
Okay.
2 minutes to accept next time.
You willing to withdraw that, Councillor Weeb?
Yes, withdrawn.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to business arising, there are none. Item 5.1, notice of motion, municipal development plan, bylaw 7-2016. Mr. Tebow?
So this was a notice of motion that I believe Councillor Sorensen had put forward. And so at this point in time, we typically would hand this over to Councillor Sorensen and she could make the rest of council aware as to what it is that we're looking at possibly deciding. So Councillor Sorensen, over to you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So as our community is growing and commercial and residential development is at
We just lost her.
hello?
Okay, we got you back.
Got me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, so as our community is growing and commercial and residential development is pretty active in our community, I think it's prudent for us to update the 10-year old municipal development plan. I believe there should be an update to the plan. I think that in 2000 we reviewed the development plan and updated some mapping. But I believe that there should be an actual full update with engagement with a wide variety of residents and business groups and provide their input and ideas for their concepts and future of Taber. I believe also this is quite an undertaking. The last one started February of 2013 And it wasn't actually, the document isn't dated till July of 2016. I do believe it's prudent for us to start, as it might be a long undertaking.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Sorensen? Mr. Tebow?
So nothing really more to add from administration other than we certainly do acknowledge it's a 10-year-old plan and probably a very good idea to go through the update. I'm sure it was on our radar, but no problem bringing it forward at this point in time. So the alternatives are there for council. Alternative 1 is what was presented as the notice of motion originally. So if council wants to deliberate any further, it's back over to you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Remford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess to Mr. Tebow, Councillor Sorensen had mentioned that it took about 3 years to do that at that one time. Is that correct? So it's quite an undertaking?
I'd actually have to defer that to Hillary. I'm not sure if that was the first time one was done and that's why it took that long. I don't think they normally take 3 years to get done, but I'm not sure. Hillary?
Thank you to the mayor. With regards to municipal development plans, it does really depend on how in-depth you're going to do it. If it's a complete redo, they do take a little bit more time. I would say a minimum of a year would be typical because you do have some engagement with the community. Obviously, we would have council workshops, so there is a time element in there, but it can take a little longer depending on obviously our discussions with council and the community. That can obviously pivot, you have to pivot on plans and how you're doing policy. So I would say probably a minimum of 1, but you could go up to 2, but 3 is a little long for something like that for a town of Tabor's size, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Councillor Everett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to make the motion of alternative 1 that council directs administration to provide information and a schedule on the review and update of the municipal development plan 7-2016.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to bylaws. Item 6.1, proposed bylaw 2-2026, long-term borrowing, industrial lagoon. Mr. Tebow.
We've got Donna here who can field any questions. I don't think she'll ask any questions. This is the second and third reading, so council had already gone through the first reading. So if there were any more questions, now's the time. Otherwise, we have second and third reading in front of you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wise, you can ask questions if you like. Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any questions of Ms. Wise? Councillor Reffert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to do recommendation number 1, unless Councilor Adnak had a question.
All right, you have a question, Councillor?
No, I can do recommendation number 2.
Okay, perfect. I make
All right.
a recommendation that council gives second reading to bylaw 2-2026, long-term borrowing, industrial lagoon safety shower bylaw.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
I just have a comment.
Councillor Sorensen, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not in favor of this motion. I just feel that there should be a more economical way of providing a safety shower, so I will not be voting in favor of this.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do you have a motion on the table? All in favor? And Councillor Sorensen shows opposed here. All right. Item number 2, Councillor Adnak.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 2-2026, long-term borrowing, industrial lagoon safety shower bylaw.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
Again, I won't be in favor of this.
All right, thank you. 1 opposed, so carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6.2, proposed bylaw 3-2026, long-term boring bylaw, WTP site pipe. Mr. Tebow.
Yeah, so again, council did do the first reading of this one. The WTP is water treatment plant site pipe replacement. And if there were any more questions, again, Donna could field them.
All right, thank you. Any questions? And whatsoever, someone prepared to make that first motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council give second reading to bylaw 3-2026, long-term borrowing WTP site pipe replacement bylaw.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. The second required motion. Councillor Etnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 3-2026, long-term borrowing, site pipe replacement bylaw.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.3, proposed bylaw 4-2026, long-term borrowing WTP PLC modernization. Mr. Stevel.
Okay, so last one, again, this is the second and third reading. First reading was passed. This is for the water treatment plant PLC. And now I forget what actually that stands for, but it's something to do with like the SCADA system or something like that. Chris, could you expand on the acronym?
Those are programmable logic controllers.
Perfect. So they're not cheap. It's quite expensive, this one. But again, if there are any questions, Don is here.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising? None whatsoever. All right. So I'm prepared to make that motion. First motion. Councillor Renfret.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that council give second reading to bylaw 4-2026, long-term borrowing for the water treatment plant program. What was it? Instead of the acronym? Programmable Logic Control Modernization Bylaw.
All right. There you go. All right. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the next required motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 4-2026, long-term borrowing WTP PLC modernization bylaw.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 7, action items. Item 7.1, health and safety policy renewal. Mr. Stevel.
So as suggested, this is our 3-year renewal for policies, for the next few of them. There was no proposed changes for this one, and just to note that this was a policy that was looked at by our core auditor when he came in, and they didn't have any suggestions for an update either. So over to council.
All right. Thank you. Any questions of council? All right. Councillor Weep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves the health and safety policy C-4 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.2, naming rights policy renewal. Mr. Stevel.
Again, a 3-year renewal of this policy. Seeing that we've got a bunch of stuff going on in the community center, we did make sure this one would satisfy any needs that we may have from a sponsorship or naming perspective, and there were no changes proposed.
All right, thank you. Questions? Councillor Renfret.
No questions, Mr. Mayor. I'm ready to make the recommendation that council approve the naming rights policy as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.3, recreation facility signage policy renewal. Mr. Thibault.
Again, no changes recommended. This just is a 3-year renewal. So back over to council again.
Thank you. Any questions arising? None whatsoever. Councillor Firth.
No questions, just prepared to make a motion.
Very well.
I move that council approves the recreation facility signage policy PS-Rec-9 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.4, patron disciplinary policy. Mr. Thibault.
Once again, no changes recommended to this policy. It is a policy that we've used in the past when required. So back over to council if there's any questions.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Weeb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question on 2.1.4 on how does staff determine if it's a nuisance? Is that outlined in a procedure? Is there a warning system in place?
So there is a procedural document. I'm pretty sure that is posted on our webpage. I couldn't tell you this very second how explicit it is as to what we would consider a nuisance or not. There's probably a number of factors as opposed to what's going on in that moment in time. I can tell you we've used it in the pool area where People have been throwing things at people, and so, there's a warning, first, second, third, and then chances are we would have to ask someone to leave. We've used it in our sports fields when we've had people doing things that were not in alignment with our sports field maintenance kind of thing, and we used it in that instance. So I don't know that there's any hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, the procedure asks the employee to speak with the supervisor, who would take that under advisement, make a decision, and if in fact it works its way up to a trespass order, for example, that would come to the CAO to make sure that everything is happened that should have happened before we get to a spot where we're doing a trespass order.
It's basically discretionary in nature, right?
It is. It's really hard to put a
Yeah.
hard, fast set of rules around each instance.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm prepared to make that motion. Councillor Atnott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves the patron disciplinary policy PS-Rec-10 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.5, Memorial Parks Amenities Policy. Mr. Thibault.
So there was some adjustments made to this one. I believe this was primarily a bench program in the past, and we've turned it the wording into be an amenities type program, and so including a lot more things than benches. It could be, multiple things you find in parks. It could be picnic shelters. It could be, pet rocks that we like to name, or anything other than benches. We try to include just the word amenities to broaden it up, because we have had requests come our way, and council has entertained those requests in the past, along with the rec board has also entertained some of those requests. So if there's any more questions, I believe Mr. Martin's here to help with that, but back over to council.
All right, thank you. Councillor Renford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing I did like is the trees. That's kind of a neat one. Like you could put a tree in somebody's name. I like that's pretty neat. So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I'm ready to make the motion. The council approves the Memorials Park Amenities Program Policy PS-Rec-12 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.6, Information for Council. Mr. Thibault.
So the first bit of information is the Executive Director's report from FCSS. In the past, I would hand this over to Mr. Beckering, who would comment on that, but the torch has been picked up by Councillor Firth, so I'll pass it over to Councillor Firth if you have anything to add.
Thank you.
Councillor Firth.
Thanks. Yes, I have literally and figuratively very big shoes to fill on that board. There's nothing in particular I wanted to highlight. I just wanted to just make everybody aware of the variety of the important prevention work that FCSS does in our community and also in surrounding rural communities. There are a lot of services that if FCSS didn't provide them, the communities wouldn't benefit from them. And I think our executive director of FCSS actually spoke to that as well, and just talked about the potential for future harm if these preventative programs weren't in place. So very glad to be sitting on that board, and if anybody has any questions about the report, I can take them.
Right, thank you. Councillor Weave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know that this is necessarily a question for Councillor Firth. I was just wondering if there was an issue with mine uploading, or if I'm missing something on for example, page 12 of the report. It looks like there's a pie chart, but there's no corresponding information with it. So I don't know if that was an issue on my tablet or if it's an issue with the report.
Like this one.
Yeah, it's just a blank page. And it's on page 15 as well.
So it must correspond to something, eh?
Yeah, and apologies, I skimmed over it because I had already seen it at the FCSS meeting, so I didn't read it in detail. I have the complete report. I can forward it to the rest of council with all the information if you'd like.
All right, thank you, Councillor Firth. All right, any other questions on FCSS? All right, see none, no motion required for that one. Mr. Thibault, any further?
Yeah, as per usual, I'll ask Mr. Egan to come forward and provide council with a community center verbal update as to where things are at this moment in time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So pleased to report that Zone 2, which is the Chamber Museum space, was turned over to the users this morning, leaseholders. So that'll be open as they open their functions to the public. It's all ready to go. There's a little bit of temporary work that we had to do to get those spaces open, but there'll be no disruptions, further disruptions of service as we change over. High risk abatement with Service Master and JK, their subtrade, continues. That's to remove the block and the corresponding asbestos-containing material, the vermiculite that's in the block, from the rink and from the other ice areas. We predict, or we're still on track, that to complete that work by the end of this month. At that point, once that's completed, we'll move into a low-risk abatement work, which is cleaning up the whole rest of all the ice surfaces, which includes the walls and the stands and everything else that received low-level contamination when the walls came down. That'll take us to the end of April to do that. There's physically a lot more space and work to be done in that area, and then at that point in time, we'll be allowed to get into the building and start the reconstruction of things like power that were damaged, some of the HVAC, the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units, fire alarm system, things like that, lighting that we had to remove because they can't be decontaminated of asbestos. Those have to get put back, and then we'll also start work on the fixtures and furnishings, the F&F work, which includes things like boards, the netting for the boards, score clocks that came down with the wall, other things like that, in order to put the facility back into sort of a truncated operation. Right now, we're targeting that large ice surface to be in operation and allow us to put some ice in so that we can continue to host the Versette Hockey School, which occurs in August. So we're still aiming for mid-July, which was the original kind of target. And then we'll pause the facility reconstruction at that time and wait for the information that comes out of the dryland facility programming and feasibility study that's underway to see if any part of the existing facility can be used or might be used in that. So it's just a prudent place to break. And worst case scenarios, we won't have the small ice back in operation for the winter, but we would have likely have the curling club and their facilities back in operation for the winter.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Antnek?
Not a question, just thank you for all the work that the town is doing. I know that you guys are going above and beyond, so thank you.
Yeah, the facilities department is is really working hard to make some of these things happen because they're the frontline coordination with the contractors because they know the building, they know the systems, and they were here at 5 o'clock this morning running power lines and things like that.
Great, yes, thank you once again. Any other questions for Mr. Egan? All right, thank you. Mr. Tebow?
That's it for that item, Mr. Mayor, and yeah, that's all I've got for those. So back over to you.
Operational highlights, item 7.7, Mr. Tebow.
So administration doesn't have anything specific to highlight in the operational highlights this time around. There does seem to be a few less of them. So instead of a departmental report that's repetitive, we just have the operational highlights that came forward. So if there are any questions on any of those items, we have hopefully the right people here that could answer those questions.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? Nothing whatsoever, all right.
I just have a
Councillor
comment.
Sorensen? Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I really like the new format of the template, but I think last month also we were missing all of the department reports. So I would like, if possible, to again get the fire department, the public works, utilities, whoever is missing, if everybody could report if possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tebow.
Maybe I didn't hear 100%, but the operational highlights is the department report replacement. I do recognize there's a few missing this time. Our understanding was that the repetitiveness that lands in the department reports wasn't something that we were going to continue to put in front of council. We were just going to do sort of the highlights, the things that might be sort of different on a monthly basis, or something that was out of the norm. But administration can do whatever council wants to have put forward. This was probably about, I don't know, the third or maybe it's the fourth meeting maybe that we've done operational highlights in place of department reports. So this was our attempt to refine the repetitiveness that took place in the department reports, but I'm not sure if that's capturing what you were asking for sure or not, Councillor Sorensen.
Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, I just know that as spring is coming, there should be more workings of the public works department. I just still appreciated the fire department report too, even though it might be the same things. I still like to read what they're doing and acknowledge certain highlights in their department. So I'm not sure. I do feel that we're missing a little bit, but that's just my comments. Maybe other council members can chime in on this.
Right, thank you. Yes, Councillor Sorensen, I would agree. That's there's definitely things that I'm sure that is routine for administration, but it's nice to know a lot of that information for us as council members. I do believe, and it's been helpful in the past, certainly highlight something accordingly for each individual department is probably appropriate as well. But for me, I would agree with Councillor Sorensen. It's nice to have some of that month-to-month ongoing updates in that regard.
Okay, no problem. Administration will take another stab at that for our next month's reports.
All right, thank you. If it's a matter of streamlining or instead of complete paragraph breakdowns, just, point forms, I think is appropriate to me. But I know there's a lot of paper documentation with all the reports there, so maybe that's an option to consider anyway. But it was certainly helpful in the past for council purposes, for sure. Any other questions on that at all? Comments? All right, no motion required for that. Moving on to Mayor and Council reports. Councillor Renford, if you start us off, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the meetings I was able to attend this month. The AGM for the Handy Bus. They're purchasing a new bus. It'll be here within a year, right? So that's pretty cool. Hockeyville's obviously neat. I imagine everybody's going to say something about it, so I'm glad I'm first. We're in the top two. We got the Play On event for street hockey. If you're watching this, you should have enough time to sign up to do a team. You have the internet. Also, we have a survey for the future plans in regard to a multi-purpose. Same thing. If you're watching this, you got the internet, so fill out that survey. Other than that, that's it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Weeb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended every meeting I was required to attend. I would like to highlight the Tabor Exhibition Association. They are looking forward to their Raise the Roof charity concert by the Tabor Titans and Spider Entertainment. That takes place on March 28th at 7 p.m. at the Agriplex. And I would like to remind everyone that the general admission tickets are still available. So if you're interested, you can go online, as Councillor Renford has said, and purchase some tickets. I also had the privilege of attending the Tabor and District 4-H Speak-Offs and would like to extend congratulations to all of the youth participants. The talent and public speaking skills on display were impressive. I also attended the Tabor Adult Learning Open House. It was wonderful to tour their new space, and I believe it's a positive for our community that they can now host all of their programming under one roof instead of being in multiple buildings. And finally, I enjoyed the Air Cadets Pasta Supper and had the opportunity to take a tour of Clearview Lodge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all the meetings I was required to, and Councillor Renford and Councillor Weep stole all of my highlights. So yes, Play On tournament is happening this weekend. Very exciting. Also, the Roadhammers concert this weekend, and the Cowboy Poetry event is also happening on Saturday. So lots of stuff to do in town on Friday and Saturday this weekend.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Entman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got nothing left. But I also attend. Oh. Yeah, there was the tango charity supper thing, and my wife's in the band. She played in it. But beyond that, I attended all my required meetings, and I went to my first Star on 54th meeting, and it was good. It was I think we'll have having a say in there will help out, and it's good for us.
Great, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out during the police commission meeting, I believe yourself and Councillor Firth also attended. There was a presentation from the Director of Criminal and Intelligence Center, and he provided a presentation in regards to serious and organized crime in Alberta. So that was very informative. Also, during the meeting, there was the annual bylaw and policy review. Something that I wanted to point out is that there's going to be a stricter screening process for the board members, and this is coming directly from the ministry. And it's in regards to prior appointments and prior to taking office, the screening process could take. Maybe Council Firth even knows better, but there was a mention of up to 3 months. So this will definitely affect the way that we approve board members.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen. Yes, for myself, I also did attend the Taber Police Commission meeting. Very informative and very enlightening, and glad to see our very effective, efficient Taber Police Service on top of that and informing us accordingly. I also attended the Taber Library Kids Minifigure Contests. I attended and participated in the Coolest Night of the Year fundraiser for the food bank. I was also invited to a Filipino visitors meeting that I attended, and also attended the Parkside Luncheon invite. And that would be my report. Any questions for anyone whatsoever? Also to add that for the weekend upcoming, it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of legwork involved. And thanks to all the volunteers and all the Taber Town Staff Administration Council for your involvement and support, and everybody that's supported this great cause for the overall benefit of our community. So it's going to be a fun weekend. So do participate if you can. All right, moving on. We also, any other new notice of motions and or standing item council requests? Nothing come to light, Mr. Thibault?
Nothing that's come administration's direction. Nope. Back
All
over
right.
to council.
Okay. So with that, that's nothing further until our delegations, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so we can break for our meal break this time, right? So just a motion on the table to break and reconvene for our delegation attendance, please. Motion on the table, all in favor?
In favor.
All right, carried now. Thank you. All right, Counselor Sorensen, you're back with us as well?
Hello?
Hello, yes, can you hear us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, if we reconvene the meeting, please. On to our delegations, item 8.1, Taber District Housing Foundation, Mr. Tebow.
So we've got Mr. Tim Jansen here, and he'll run through the presentation. I didn't know if you wanted me to run the slideshow. Is there a slideshow? Okay, so you can run them with that mouse if you want to yourself, or I can, whichever. So come on up. And please use the microphone so Joanne can hear.
All right, Mr. Jensen.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this evening. I know you've got a pretty full agenda. Few slides to take you through and to then, I guess, make our ask and try and answer any questions. Okay. Probably be easiest to do this. Sure. Perfect, thank you. All right, so basically we're here to talk to you about Clearview Lodge. And basically, built in 1963, currently has 77 units, and we're serving 82 individuals. The goal is to provide a home for residents of all income, and we do that by providing services such as housekeeping, activities, meals, and we have two kind of level of residents. Basically supportive living SL2, they may have scheduled care. SL3 residents, now referred to as continuing care type B, have scheduled and unscheduled care. So in 2019, we started this project off by sitting down and trying to figure out, okay, what do we actually want to do? Why are we doing this? Basically, it's a 60-year-old building that's showing its age. Not necessarily in the finishes, but just in the overall design. The majority of the rooms are smallish, between 190 and 220 square feet. We still have 10 rooms that have a half bathroom. So sink and toilet, those residents would go to a public shower or tub room. And anytime we've had an energy audit done, I think we've had 3 done in the 10 years I've been there, the best case scenario said we were using double the energy that they would have anticipated. We tried to keep the best features of the building, mainly the dining room, which was renovated in 2011, the atrium, and the vibe. We tried very hard to not consider Clearview Lodge as a facility. It's people's home. We just happen to work there. We also wanted to improve the parking and traffic flow around the building. We wanted to see if on our existing property we could offer more units. The idea of keeping people in Taber and community, and avoid, I call it the occupancy pitfall, that many surrounding rural lodges seem to face. Their buildings kind of time out and people decide that they don't want to live there, and so they have a lot of vacancies. And so in the end, they have significant operating costs and requisitions, even though they have an empty old building. So I don't want to bore you with exactly what we're trying to do there, but there's an expansion component that has 56 rooms, 53 bachelor, 3 one-bedroom, plus a basement area. The existing building will have 35 renovated units, with 22 bachelor and 13 one-bedrooms. So that works out to be 76 studios, 16 one-bedroom. All of the rooms will have heating and cooling with their own temperature control thermostats. So residents can control the comfort in their own room and heat recovery units in each unit. Even the updated makeup area units will be outfitted with heat recovery. And that's probably one of the main issues we have right now. Our makeup units simply pump air into the building and it leaks out everywhere. The idea would be an updated system would have the capacity to recover some of the heat of air that's being exchanged. We did a lot of work in the front of the building where there currently is a parking lot and a bunch of grass will likely end up being a complete parking lot. And it's because there's a one-way traffic flow. Trying to have a corridor through there for emergency vehicles, the special needs bus visitors. There's pullouts for them to ease in loading those vehicles of residents. Landscaping plan, there's a walkway that goes around the entirety of the lodge property, and some green spaces that are inside and out sensory experience for the residents. So did we actually meet our goals? And I think this is where I'll switch to some notes I have, but how did we increase the value of what we currently do? How do things change with the design of standardized rooms? So we increased the room size. So we moved to that 190 to 220. For studio units, they'll be 350 to 360 square feet. One bedroom units will be about 450 to 480 square feet. There's more variation there because they're mostly in the existing building. So we simply varied the size of the room to fit, so we didn't have to move structure. Each unit will have a handicap accessible washroom with a roll-in shower, and this allows each resident to bathe in their own room, whether that be assisted or unassisted. Each room would have a sitting area. So I remember my board chair telling me, she said, it's kind of hard to visit my mom because there's only room for a chair. That means I have to sit on the bed if we want to visit each other. Not optimal way of interacting with people in your room. There's more personal storage. And we will have cable, internet, Wi-Fi, telephone in every unit and throughout the building. The new front area, we think it's kind of the center of the building. It's greatly expanded, complete with a reception desk, and you kind of have this joining of the living space, the entry, the atrium, and the dining room, and elevator access from that front entry to all three, actually 4 of the floors, 3 plus the basement. Because our expansion wing is C-shaped, it joins up to the building in 2 areas, it creates an interior courtyard. Definitely better parking and traffic flow. There are more parking spots at the front entry, and that one-way driveway is much safer for people picking up residents and while residents are moving around. We did add a dedicated craft room and several meeting rooms that allow groups from like 10 to 80 to meet. So we will have a place where if there are important milestones for residents, family can come and visit and have that space all to themselves. One of the other goals was to keep people in Taber and community by having more rooms available. So we did move from 77 to 91, and partly we changed the composition of the rooms. If we make the assumption that a 1-bedroom suite can hold 2 people, whereas right now, if we have a couple, they would take 2 rooms. With that assumption, the composition could mean up to an additional 25 residents. The increase in the number of rooms means greater access for our community members. Our current wait list would fill these rooms, but wait list is always changing. We do expect with this announcement we will see more people signing up. Additional continuing care spaces. So this one is in November, ALA, Assisted Living Alberta, put out a call for proposals. And they attached a big carrot to those proposals. They had $450 million that they were looking to give out, up to $450,000 per unit. So we actually have already made application. Sadly, they won't decide till May, June, potentially later. But we would be able to, our design had already incorporated most of their design criteria. So there actually wouldn't be an additional cost to pick up their design. If we were awarded 10 units, we would simply build them out. But it would be a source of significant grant funds. And indeed, an increase in the number of beds should delay people waiting for beds that can happen at times, especially in continuing care. And the last thing is to kind of improve options for the community. So I realize many people want or choose to stay in their own home, and that's fine. But I also know that people want to do that until the moment they don't want to do that. And that's usually the moment that we get the call of, my mom and dad need to be placed, how fast can you do it? So I think those people should still have the choice. However, having an expanded facility and an upgraded facility actually gives everybody more choice. There's a better opportunity for them to move in if and when that is required. With the current facility, there are definitely times where we simply cannot accommodate people on their preferred timeline. I can't guarantee even an expanded facility that won't happen, but definitely more rooms gives us better opportunity to try and place people. More continuing care spaces would potentially allow us to accept people as they want to move in. And I did provide a bunch of other information, but that I wanted to respect your time and absolutely wanted to give you time for questions. Our ask today, why are we asking? So we have found a commercial lender that will advance or has given us an expression of interest to underwrite a construction mortgage. Construction loan. They will finance up to $9 million plus a $500,000 interest reserve that would likely be drawn down during kind of the second 18 months of the project. At that point in time, when the building is completely finished, they would offer to roll that all into a 30-year mortgage. I think the initial slide was 25 years, but we were able to talk to them and they said, yeah, we could do more. Well, they did say, you're kind of getting ahead of yourself. The lender indicated to me that really what you're looking for now is you want a construction loan to get you through construction. And he said, and we know that when that time comes, when you're finishing construction, that you'll need a mortgage, but that you'll be in a competitive situation and we'll have to give you a competitive bid at that time to offer you terms. We can go out to 30 years, but he did point out, and he said, and really we'll set up the mortgage for what you need at that point in time, depending on what that amount is. So in the slides, I had given you the maximum that we can actually spend on this project. We don't believe we need to spend that, but in fairness, that we were funded for $27 million project by the province. We've done some value engineering where we believe it can be between 25 and 26. Ultimately, until you have bids, you don't know exactly what it will cost. But in order to get bids, you need to know where we're moving forward. So we're at a point where in order to get commercial financing, we can borrow it on our behalf. No one has to sign for us. No additional security need be given than the building. But that can be approved by Minister Nixon. In order to get that permission, that written approval, among other things, we need a letter of support from each municipal council. So our ask was that Town of Taber would provide a letter of support and understanding that there would be additional costs to operating requisition to cover the debt financing. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim. Questions arising for Tim? Councillor Rufford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess to Tim. So as of right now, you have about 17.57 million as in the sides set aside already. And then there is a chance of another 4.5 million with continuing care beds, right?
Correct.
So that could get us up to roughly, the TDHF could be up to 22, a little over 22 million. And in the time, while you talked about, the bank, waiting, giving you the construction loan, if in that time, Build Canada Homes is still an option to go with, if they become a cheaper mortgage, is that last bit available through them?
Well, indeed, I just talked to them last week. They finally are at the point where they're considering applications at an individual level. So I had a webinar with several of their representatives. They have a process of where they ask for pro forma, they ask for project, and scope of work, which we're in the process of getting to them. Then they will determine eligibility. We run into a little bit of headwind around, we have to be careful how we frame our scope of work. They want to fund new construction. They want to fund net new construction. They don't want to fund health care, so continuing care. But yet, yes. And in fact, we'll keep turning over stones. If there are other options available, even like this is a commercial lending situation, CMHC is a lender, but they do provide at times longer term financing. I think at times 30 and even up to 50-year financing. I had thought they had got out of the lending game, but it does appear that they might have some different options that are outside of the affordable realm. So indeed, we would continue to look for different lenders because while the construction loan allows us to build, we're not obligated to move forward with that particular lender for a mortgage. It's good to have it arranged, but if we could find a different lender, like Build Canada Homes or CMHC, or find other grant funds so we didn't have to borrow as much money, absolutely we can do that at the time when we complete the project.
I guess just to keep going, Mr. Mayor. So, but that's great. So, but at the a little over 22 million, I know I'm putting the 4.5 million in TDHF's basket. Sitting on that board, having them extra beds that has better continuing care will give our residents a longer time they could live in Clearview Lodge, which it was a positive. And I believe sitting on that board, I've heard, people say that is one of the things they would like to stay in one place, not live in Clearview. We're just talking Taber, and then have to move in the latter state of their life to Lindenview or to that. So that's a positive. Now, like I said, we're dealing with the seniors at the end of their life, right? So I know this is 100 people, but it's 100 people that eventually it will be people that are 40. It will be the people that are 50 in this community that will, that are 60. There's no way around us not needing this, right? So I am very happy to see the 9 million the government give. I'm very happy with the 4.5 that's out there, and the committed of 8.5 from the MD and the Taber already. I mean, that puts us so close to the goal line of this. There's excitement. I know it comes with a cost to taxpayers, but sometimes when I see something that we're doing within the community as an elected official, it's nice to see something built. To say that, tax dollars are going to that. I mean, I know that, so I'm not saying the money isn't going somewhere, but it is nice, right? So, it is very exciting.
All right, thank you. Other questions? All right, for me, Tim, I believe that's a project that's very much necessary and ideally needs to happen. Just a question as far as the letters you're asking about from all Town of Tabor, MD Tabor, Vauxhall and/or Barnwell. Is that the
Yep.
4 players? Okay. So what does that get you exactly? We do that. Say we do that.
So in order for a housing management body to lend or borrow money, one, we have to give a number of pieces of information to the minister. One, what's our current indebtedness? Well, we actually don't owe any money. They'd like to see pro formas over the next 5 years to see, okay, how are you going to pay for all this? And the biggest thing that they want is expression of interest. They would want to see the terms of the loan and those sorts of things. But they want to see that the surrounding or the affected municipal partners are agreeing that, yeah, okay, they're going to borrow money. And as a result, because they're going to borrow money, it's likely that their operating requisition will increase. And we accept that. We're going to live with that. I don't know if there have been instances in other communities where in the past 10 years, HMBs put a capital requisition in place or maybe entered into debt financing that it's good today, but maybe 5 years from now when you renegotiate, or if it's only a 5-year loan, there's a risk. So some of the groups that borrowed money 5 years ago, borrowed at sub 2%. Well, they're not renewing at that now, and it's having a dramatic impact on all of the communities that pay into their requisition. So the government came up with a solution that, okay, well, let's get everybody to agree to this ahead of time so that everyone's on the same page. It is consistent with they seem to want local municipalities to have skin in the game. I thought they already did before, but who am I? That seems to be their thing, that they want to see that investment, an ongoing investment from local community.
Okay, so just to clarify, there was money options available that's no longer a possibility. That we thought, look, when this first came to light, that there was another third possibility that's no longer on the table, right?
Well, so are you like CMHC really stopped taking affordable housing applications in November, and at that point they already were winding down from September to November, and we missed that window, and were not approved by that time, and they simply said, well, we're going to roll these over to Build Canada Homes, and indeed our name was put forward from the provincial ministry as part of a provincial portfolio. In January, I think I got a letter saying that it happened. Just this last week, we were informed, well, they actually want to look at each project individually. So I had a call the next day with BCH representatives, and I'm now starting to meet their wish list of things that they want to know about the project.
All right, thank you. Councillor Athenuk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, Tim, for you. Thank you for your involvement in this, and it's definitely a project that we need to improve the current situation that we're at right now. I was just going over the numbers, though, because if there's a requisition, the effect is on the people, and it is pretty substantial. So a couple of questions on the charts that you had in your presentation. There's one that was titled Comparison of Per Unit Cost Projects. I'll just let you get there.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. If you, it's not on the PowerPoint slide. Indeed.
Okay. Now, my question for you is, I went right to the Alberta website because I was trying to figure out where these numbers came from because there's no citation of where it came from. So I like the first, let's see, 3 columns are on Alberta's website, but then you have total project costs and cost per unit.
Right.
Because one of your selling features that you had in your presentation was that we were the cheapest per unit, the cost per unit of the 6 announced. So then I went there, and I'm a numbers guy, and the first one on there is the Piami Lodge, and it's a total demolition, and then each unit's going to be brand new. So that's $348,000. For us, it's $296 for all 91 units, but we're not starting from scratch on them. Can you elaborate why? Because you're comparing apples and oranges in that presentation.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to me.
Well, I think one, it's fairly substantial amount. I think what I was trying to show was that some people suggested it wasn't good value for money. At the end of the day, we will have 91 new units. The amount of renovation that will occur, even in the existing facility, there won't be much that isn't new. And indeed, I was pleased to see my friends at Green Acres were kind of like the next in line. I think that this may have been directed more to a slightly different audience that told me that they were concerned that our values were too high. And indeed, the value or the cost per unit that will be achievable, you're correct. I think to me what it shows is that we've made decisions of how to keep the cost as low as possible. I guess we didn't have an opportunity to have land to put, and partly a decision made that didn't want to relocate to a different chunk of land. So our only option was to incorporate the existing building into the construction. So we decided to add on and then make use of the existing space.
Okay. No, thank you for that. And then just as you were going through the presentation, I had one more question. Was it, obviously we have this amount too, just for my curiosity, was it ever looked at of just upgrading those 10 units that had the half bathrooms? Or just the 200 and 300 wing? Instead of doing a total renovation?
I think there was a time where in 2011 that was somewhat, but even those plans were designed to make them kind of cottage, and actually each unit would have a separate entry from the exterior. And when we looked at our building, it didn't really make sense. That's not our clientele. We have alarms on every door. So that we know, particularly at night, if there's any elopement risk. The plan that had been proposed there was 12 additional exterior doors. And I think that when we looked at, we did want to increase. In fact, every single funder needed to see an increase in net. Even the provincial program said you had to have at least a net 5 increase. The numbers in the community support an increase to lodge facilities and to continuing care. They don't necessarily, some areas are doubling. Tabor is a very young community. And as well, we've seen that there's a significant component of the population that would prefer to age in their home. And we respect that. Yet there is often suddenly a need at a variety of, there's a medical event and someone needs more care. So what we did was we tried to devise a space that could handle the bulge, the boomer bulge for the next 20 years, but also wouldn't be so large that when in 30 or 40 years that number falls off, that we wouldn't be too large. I know one of our hopes in the future is to continue to amalgamate the senior self-contained units and buildings more with connect them more with the lodge. So we blur the lines between senior self-contained of independent living and lodge living, that the units would be able to, if you needed more senior self-contained space, you could use that. If you needed more lodge space, you could use apartments in the senior self-contained buildings.
All right, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Jansen, Councillor Rumford mentioned an extra, like a potential of additional funding by adding beds. Can you elaborate on that?
So adding continuing care spaces. So the building wouldn't be any bigger. We currently have a contract for 20 SL3 beds with Assisted Living Alberta. They are desperately looking for more beds to continue their effort to move people out of hospital in, even more expensive beds than our beds.
Sorry, so SL3 is a higher level of care?
Right. So there wouldn't be any more units. We would simply be allocating more of the 91 units. We would still have more units available to people than we do today. And it would allow us to provide more continuing care service.
All right.
But you're right. The number is set at 91 for this design. It would simply change how they're allocated.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rufford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess going to Councillor Adam's question, it is a renovation in a sense in some parts, but the advantage of that renovation is in Fort Macleod, in other centers where they, tore the building down and rebuilt brand new, did they then have trouble getting them residents back? In kind of what TDHF is doing, you're planning not to relocate many people during this process, right? So that you're trying to do less disruption. If we were to build brand new, obviously we have enough, we wouldn't need double, but to tear down to build brand new, the inconvenience to the residents there would be huge.
Indeed, some other municipalities or locations did choose that they wanted to build on the same site, so they relocated all of their residents and then built for 2 years or 2.5 years, and then invited everyone back. I had a colleague who actually, it was one CAO that displaced everyone, and a different CAO called everybody back. And she said, never had such difficult conversations. Given the age of many of the residents, she had to call the family to say, hey, we'd like your mom to come back. Promptly to be told, well, that would be a trick. Mom had passed. And then they would go on to say, and you guys are the reason why. So we're trying very hard to honor our commitment to provide a good quality of life. Even in transition, there's some things we can do to try. The project is definitely phased in a way that construction occurs where people are not. So the new construction really is its own wing. Once we have completed the new construction, the expansion wing, there's 56 units that will fill from our existing building. Then 1/2 of that existing building will be renovated. When that's complete, the remaining people will move into the newly renovated section and we'll finish the building. The goal is that nobody moves more than once and they move into a new unit. I guess we'll see whether we can actually get that perfectly done, but that's the goal.
All right, thank you. And just related to the letters, Mr. Jansen, you're talking about ideally looking for 4. So just say hypothetically, if you get 2 out of the 4, how does that impact things?
Don't know.
Okay.
I guess I have 1. So I know I will get 1 out of 4. I spoke with a counselor, one of the organizations on this name, who said, yeah, we're having some challenges with 2 of the smaller places. So, forget them. We're moving ahead. the major payers are behind it. We want her comment, and I said, well, man, you're got to be borrowing a ton of money, like much more than we're looking at. And her comment was, we have a 60-year-old building. The deferred maintenance will cost us way more than building this new building. They had a boiler go down this past year, and it was just horrible because they basically had a building with no heat with seniors inside it. And sadly, they don't announce ahead of time when that's going to happen. So and I don't know that I necessarily agree, but her comment was, we're going to do this hell or high water. We have to do this, so we're just doing it. Yeah, I think we have more of a plan than that, but you guys might disagree, so that's okay. I think it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any
Can
other
I
questions?
comment?
Counselor Sorensen? Sure, you bet. You go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to provide my support for this project. I'm impressed with today's presentation from Mr. Johnson. I know we have support from the province. We have support from the MD, and I know that the town of Heber has supported this project. And I'm comfortable in providing a letter of support in moving forward. I think that this is much needed in our community.
All right, thank you. Yes, I would agree. That's definitely important, and it's ideally, like I said, you need the 4 out of 4 letters, I think, to go forward positively, right? It's I mean, any support's great, but if you got 100% of all players, then that's key. So I would also support that. Any other questions, comments, Mr. Tebow?
Nothing further from administration, so yeah, and I think if everyone's had their comments, we can certainly deliberate
Okay.
as long as we need.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time. Very much
All right.
appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
You too, Roseanne. Thanks. You brought security. You brought your bodyguard. We were too mean. If we were too mean to you, I guess you'd step in. Dan,
No kidding.
yeah, I thought about it. They're back in their spot.
All right. Thank you.
Drop off the car. No. It's my budget.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
All right. Do we need a bit of deliberation first, or you want to deal with the next delegation?
Yeah, typically, we would go through the deliberation and recommendation at this point and then move on to the next
Yep.
one. But I mean, it's up to council. You can make the motions later if you want, but probably now's the time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No. Counselor first.
I'm prepared to make the recommended motion now. I move that council thanks the Taber and District Housing Foundation and accepts their presentation for information, and council refers the matter to administration to review and bring back a financial report with recommendations to a future council meeting.
All right. Thank you. Do you have a motion on the table? Any further discussion?
Aye.
Counselor Sorensen?
Is there any harm in providing a letter of support for the project?
Actually, I was going to ask the same thing. So, I mean, we know the base gist of the financial involvement or requirement rather. But, Mr. Tebow, from your standpoint?
So according to what I read on Mr. Jansen's presentation, if we provide the letter of support, that means we are committing ourselves to the funding that is not yet acquired, whatever that number might end up being. Currently, that looks like $9 million, but it could be half that if some circumstances change. But essentially, signing the letter and sending it in means that we approve for the additional funding to come through the town as a requisition on top of our existing annual requisition, which $9 million doubles our requisition amount from Taber District Housing. So that was kind of why the recommendation was put forward for us to go away and have some more conversation and bring something back. But if council's prepared to say yes to sign the letter, that's what it means.
Okay, so maybe I wasn't clear when I was thinking we're talking more like the $5 million that was going to be outstanding. But that other 4.5 that he was referring to wasn't, or that you asked about also wasn't secured? Yeah. It's on the table as a possibility, but not secured. Okay, thank you. Councilor Firth?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Mr. Tebow said, that my understanding is that by signing or providing that letter of support, we are agreeing to the requisition, and I am not prepared to do that tonight.
Okay, I wasn't looking at it that way, actually, either. But, okay. All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen, any other questions? Your end?
Yeah, I wasn't under that impression from his presentation.
Sorry, did you catch that? Sorry, we didn't catch that, Councilor Sorensen.
Oh, I just said that that wasn't my impression from the presentation, but I'm okay with voting on the motion as it stands.
Okay, all right, very well. All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to our Councilor Renford. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, I have to step out. It's not anything to do with you, young man. I gotta go MC the Taber Minor Hockey banquet. However, if they do give you trouble, I'll just be across the street. Fair?
All right, Councilor Renford, thank you. So, just for the record, I guess you'll reflect that. Good to know, yeah. All right, so, yeah, just for the record, Councilor Evans has had to step out and won't be part of the meeting. Continuing on. So, on to item 8.2, delegation from the Taber Cowboy Heritage Society. Mr. Tebow.
So it looks like we have Mr. David Woodruff here. We can get you to come up to the front and use the microphone, sir, because we have Joanne Sorensen chimed in remotely, so she can only hear us if you turn the microphone on. You can do either or.
Just got to turn on one or the other mic. No, she's got to hit that middle button.
Caps.
All right, Mr. Woodruff, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Josh, Carly. I met Brittany on the phone. Naomi, I remember your name. Have any of you been to a cowboy poetry gathering? Mr. Mayor has, I know.
Yes, I have.
Last year. Most fun concert on the face of the earth, right? Yes. And they're all the same. I've been from Pitcher Creek, Maple Creek, Lewistown, High River, and a bunch of places in between. And they're all great. You walk in and it's just a wonderful feeling. And you probably all know how they got going. Once the buffalo were gone, we had all this grassland here, and the deer and the elk couldn't keep up with it. And the federal government said, well, hey, we can rent land out, lease land to ranchers for a penny an acre. Great ranches, no cattle. So they had to send off to Texas for cattle. Well, they'd been driving out of Texas into Missouri and Kansas and New Mexico, so to come on up here was no big deal. But there's a lot of stuff happening. So around the campfire, there's a lot of stories. Some of the cowboys put it into poetry, cowboy poetry. And some of them were talented musically, put it to music, you got cowboy songs. And in this day and age, we hope to be able to keep the history alive by having cowboy poetry gatherings. Seems to me if we can understand, through history we can understand how things go, and through understanding we can get along with these things and other people. And I apologize for the phone going off earlier. That was one of our new, he's a local guy. He's wonderful. He's never performed at a cowboy poetry gathering, but he's going to be with us on Saturday. Anyway, I wrote down a few things here. I think Tabor's history of cowboy poetry gatherings was like 1980, whatever, and continued on until the Historic Society found out that they couldn't really make the money that they needed to fund the museum. And what better reason to have a fundraiser than a museum? I'm all for it. And I said to them, well, sorry, it's kind of like ranching. You might not get rich quick. But the kids will know how to take care of responsibility and you have a good lifestyle. But they did something else, and that was their prerogative, and I hope it's working out. I hear it's working out for them really well. You folks will know how it's working out. I don't. Anyway, I thought, is life any better for us that we don't have now that we don't have a cowboy poetry gathering? And so we got to work getting it going, and COVID shut us down. So once COVID got over, we got it going again. And the Historic Society said, the kids aren't involved. And I said, well, let's ask the kids. So the first year we had one teenager. The next year we had 3 kids. The first teenager was off on a band trip, so she wasn't available. Last year we had 15. Some of them were my grandkids, and I say, bless them. This year there's a band trip, so we may have 4 or 5, but we really want to help the kids hone their skills, learn and grow and progress and perform. And that's one of the things that we're working on. I saw kids at Stavely, and they did just as good as any of us old guys ever do. And I thought, kids up here any smarter than our kids south of the river? I don't think so. And they've proved that they are doing okay. There's about 4 or 5 reasons why we wanted to have a cowboy poetry gathering here. It's good family entertainment, and for sure, I mean, Tabor corn is famous all over Western Canada, but can the town be any more famous? I think we can do. If Tabor's known for corn, plus oil, plus cowboy poetry, plus all these other things, it helps the town. And we're really hoping to bring more people to Tabor, and they'll shop at patronize the local businesses. It's family entertainment, and we have thought that if we could bring in seasoned performers, it'll make a better show, and they'll be mentors to the kids so that the kids know how it's done. Three and 4 years ago, I think the council donated in kind with the use of the Civic, and last year we didn't get the Civic, and I can't find out why not. But that's passed and gone. We got the Parkside Manor. Oh, did we get wonderful feedback from that. The only person that didn't like it was the trick roper. The ceiling's not quite as high as this. and he still lived. So we've decided with the Zamboni blowing up, the Civic Center wasn't ready, wasn't available, so we're planning on the Parkside Manor. I guess that's about all I have to say, but we'd like the MD has kicked in a whole whack load of money to help us, and we think that's great. And I'm not sure how much of a benefit the MD gets from it. One of our performers is from the county of Cypress, my grandson, and my grandkids live in the MD. so we really, but all the rest of their friends that have come and performed with them are town of Tabor residents. So anyway, we'd like to ask if we could have some money to help, because with the way gas prices are and et cetera, bringing in these guys from Manitoba or High River or wherever they come from, it costs us a little bit of money. So we'd like to, hat in hand, hand out, we'd like to ask if you could help us.
All right. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Woodruff. Appreciate that very much. Any questions whatsoever? Councillor Weeb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate your time. I know that you have invited 4-H youth to participate in the event.
Invited who?
If 4-H youth.
Yes, I think we've got 2 kids.
If any other youth or community members want to perform, how would they sign up, or how would they go about that?
Get a hold of Val Meyer just as fast as possible to get on the schedule. She does all that scheduling, and I'm kind of the field man type of thing, and I shunt people her way, and she does the fine. I kind of feel like a figurehead, and the figure's not all that great, but it is what it is.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Antlik?
You'd asked. I haven't been to one yet. Is it kind of come and go? Because like Darren had said that he popped in or do you need like a ticket to come in, or how does that work?
In past years, somebody thought we were going to be making money hand over fist, and we said, well, how about if we do admission by donation? Well, now that we've applied for society status, they want us to charge a ticket. So we have to charge $5 a person, $20 a family. Hopefully that will not be a hardship for anybody. Come and go. I mean, if you've got time, and if you don't have time, you can't. You have to do what you have to do. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of coming and going last year.
Yeah, just because there's that fundraiser that's going on at the same time. So you might have more people from out of town that maybe
we have a hard time with that thing, and we don't want to be in competition. We want to be in cooperation with these other things, and so it's going to have to be a come and go thing. We've got some pretty good prices on food, so that's going to be a draw. We've held and the stores have kicked in a lot of stuff to keep the cost down, so we feel really happy about that. And those that are giving, you go to these gatherings and they have a nice, beautiful brochure, and on the back page, ding, 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 there's all the business cards, 45,000 business cards on the back. Well, who reads that? Well, I'm not going to say never, and people should, but I said to our group, let's get it a little bit bigger, so we have a little bit bigger page for people. Not as big as I wanted, but you can't win them all, I guess.
All right. Thank you again, Mr. Woodruff. Appreciate that. Any other questions whatsoever? All right.
So I can shut up and sit down.
Sure. Yeah, you can do.
Sorry about talking your leg off.
Oh, that's all right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, I'm here. I know in the past, I think we have donated the amount for the rental of the Civic Center. It looks like there's about $400 in rental fees. I'm not sure if I think I'd be willing to donate $500 to help out the event.
All right, thank you.
Event.
Any other discussion? Suggestions? Comfort levels? All right, you want to turn that into the motion there, Councilor Sorensen?
That council provides funding in the amount of $500 to the Tabor Cowboy Heritage Society for their 2026 Tabor Cowboy Poetry and Western Music Gathering Roundup, with funds to come from the 2026 council discretionary budget.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Anything else to cover? We would have no media inquiries, Mr. Tebow, of course.
No council media inquiries. We've had plenty of media inquiries for Craft Hockeyville, but so far we're fielding them, and they'll come to a place near you soon.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else anybody wants to add before we close? Just ask for a motion to close the meeting, please. Councilor Antnak, motion on the table to close the meeting. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. All right. Oh, yes.
Everybody.
Yeah, Councilor Sorensen, Joanne, I just got a couple things that Mr. T would like to discuss here briefly.
Oh, sure.
All right, thank you.